listening to another episode of Tu Tia Bruja. I'm Bex Carlos, your host. We're getting pretty close to the end, and I still have some surprises up my sleeve. For today's episode, we have Maya Murillo. You probably know Maya. She is one of the contributors to Pero Like, and she is also known as Maya in the Moment on her social media. She's so funny, and she's so full of life, and being able to sit down and have this conversation about what it's like to be in that middle ground that is being Mexican American was very endearing, and it's always important to get perspectives from other individuals. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's listen to this episode. Maya, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I listened to your podcast when you sent me the email, and I was like, yes, this is my vibe.
Is Halloween one of your favorite holidays? Is that something you really like to take part in?
What's crazy is that so my parents are artists. They make Mexican American folk art, and so mostly we celebrate Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. And so every time it's Halloween, it's really like Day of the Dead for me because Day of the Dead is like the first and second. And people always used to think like, oh, it's like Mexican Halloween, and it's not. So ever since I was little, like I've had to go to art events with my parents to sell art from Halloween to like the second where they would have events. So I would have to explain to these white people what Day of the Dead is and like how it's not Halloween and all that stuff. And so every time Halloween comes around, I'm like, I kind of feel like I have to work. But I don't now because I'm out of my parents' house. But like, I like it a lot. I'm not like a super, super, super fan though, because my parents make kind of like that art every single day. And I think I got a little desensitized to it. And so, but I'm glad that it brings joy to other people.
That's good. Because I understand that sometimes like things don't resonate with us or like we don't like it as much as we would like to, but like don't, take the joy out of things that people love. I think right now life is really hard. So it's like let people have their, whether it be pumpkin spice or their apple cider or Halloween, whatever it might be, just like let people be happy. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I have my roommate or my old roommate's girlfriend is obsessed with Halloween and she put up decorations and like everything already like inside the house. And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Not it's not something I would do, but that's good for you, girl. Go ahead, girl. Do it."
Do what feels right. Well, I wanted to circle back around because you did mention that you grew up in an environment where both of your parents were artists. What was that like?
It was very fun because they were both kind of the outcasts, underdogs of their family because they wanted to be artists. And, the vibe back in the day when they were growing up was like, no, you get a 9 to 5 job and you stay there until you're 50 and then you retire. And they were like, we don't want to do that. That sucks. So they started to become artists. And my dad's also a musician. He plays in his own band called the Rasta Farmers, and they're a Latin reggae band. So it's like reggae beats, but they sing in Spanish. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. They're just like hippie artist parents who full on let my brother and I be as wild and creative as we wanted to be. And it always infused us with this kind of vibe. They had always ingrained in us that, like, if you're going to do something, do it with your full heart, do it with passion and love and do it full on. And so it was great growing up with them. It was very creative. My brother and I had to base coat a lot of different things, and it's great. It still is great. Like they're still doing their thing. They're so cool. I feel like in a past life we were all best friends.
I'm of the school of thought that we do soul contracts and we're kind of in a cluster of souls, and those are the ones that we like come back with.
Yes.
So it's possible that, like, you all lived in another lifetime together and, they were like a sibling or like a romantic interest or whatever. I've heard so many interesting stories. Like, I was in Mexico earlier this year and I met a woman who specializes in Mayan medicine. And she told me that her and her husband keep finding each other and they've lived in 8 different lifetimes together. And I'm like, that's so cool.
Wow. Yeah, my mom and I have said it before. We're like, I feel like it was always me, my dad, and my mom. Like, but my parents were always in love. They're always together. And I was either like the best friend, out of the trio. And then my brother, I feel like my brother is a new addition to our soul contract family because he is like kind of different than us, than like my parents and I. Also, I'm an Aries, my brother's a Leo, my dad's a Leo, my mom's a Sagittarius. So do with that what you will. We're 100% a part of our past lives and always together. We feel like we're always going to be together like in the next. It's just something we know, you know.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I always feel like, when you can have a Chicanx family that really focuses on art, because like you said, so many are just like, you have to work a 9 to 5 and stability, stability, stability. So when, like,
Yeah.
you can find a family that encourages creativity, I think that it can be like the greatest space to be in. From seeing your videos and stuff, I know that you personally don't speak Spanish. Do your parents?
So, well, as of now, I do speak Spanish. I'm continuing to learn. I started officially like my learning journey 4 years ago. I just did actually like an interview in Spanish for Telemundo the other day, which was a big like win for the pochas out there. And it was obviously in Spanglish because I'm still learning. And but to answer your question, yeah, my dad knows Spanish. I grew up in a Spanglish household, so like my mom does not speak Spanish, but she understands. Her parents did not teach her because they wanted to talk crap about the kids basically so they wouldn't listen. And for my dad, his grandparents only spoke Spanish. So he grew up mostly with them and his mom, my grandmother. So yeah, my dad speaks Spanish, but it's very like Chicano Spanish. It's very just Spanglish. Like even when he speaks English, he has a thick like Chicano accent. And when I'm over there too, like mine comes out definitely. But yeah, so he speaks Spanish, my mom does not, and I am learning. My brother does not speak Spanish, but I'm, letting him come to terms if he wants to learn or not.
Not that like speaking Spanish is necessary to anybody's cultural experience. We can't be judgmental of people who don't speak Spanish because a lot of people immigrate to this country and really want to be absorbed in the culture and feel like they're not that you aren't American if you immigrate from another place, but they feel like in order to be here, they have to like assimilate 100%. And part of that is losing the language.
Yeah, and that I feel like is it's like my mom's parents, so they did that, but they didn't know. They didn't know the importance that it would be not only just to speak 2 languages in general or to speak any other language but
Mhm.
English, but also the cultural I think just the value it has growing up speaking Spanish in the culture also, but it also doesn't make you, Latinx either if you don't. Like, there's that whole line of like, if you wanna learn it, you can, but I just had this talk on this NPR podcast that I did. We talked about the same thing and talked about how Selena Quintanilla was like the one who made it really cool and okay to not speak Spanish or to be learning. Like she owned it. So I have this thing to where I feel like speaking Spanish is like great, obviously colonizers' language, but also for my grandparents, they didn't know. They just didn't know. In their time, like it was getting a job and putting food on the table for the family. It wasn't about, oh, I'm going to teach them this language because, I have to. It was just about survival. So I feel like it's people's like different survival toolkits they have to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's important to recognize too that Spanish is another colonizer language.
Exactly. And and that's also like a lost language too that's preserved by them. And I feel like I come from the Yaqui tribe, which is like in Sonora, Mexico, and in Tucson. And my great grandparents, I think my grandfather, he fully knew that language. I can't even tell you what that language is. And the fact that I can't tell you what that language is makes me angry because like what a chunk of history that we lost. I'm like actually going to make this a little bit of a series for this next video I'm doing, and it's like finding out about my Yaqui roots. Like, I only know a certain amount of like information, and so just that part like like I want to know about my ancestors and make them proud to live on their legacy and everything, but it's like dang, it's so hard to find out this information.
Yeah, it's stressful and it's sad, but like, if anything, start to at least do some research on like plants that they used to work with, because I think that just working with plants that our ancestors used to work and stuff is so connecting. There was an episode in the first season where someone talked about that. That touched me in a way that I didn't even realize, because it's like we might not speak the same language, but me using the plants that were local to you and traditional for you, there is something powerful about that.
Wow, thank you for saying that. Because I think I've been trying to find some way to like, I'm like, I know I can make them proud by doing what I'm doing and using the gifts that they have passed on. But it's also like on a deeper level, how do you just feel like you know, you can honor them in that way? And like, so I also like want to follow some traditions, and this is for a video too, but I'm like, also don't want to be disrespectful to show those traditions. But yeah.
For us, we're trying to appreciate, but there is still that fine line between appropriating because, we're Mexican Americans who have now been here for a couple of generations.
Mhm.
And I just try to, one, pay the money. I feel like to the people who deserve it, who are making the things that are still like there. But with a lot of us, it just takes like growing and kind of seeing what works.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to do my research.
Taking a quick pause from the episode, Halloween's right around the corner, and also Election Day. Melissa at Temperance Home and Bar is doing some readings on Election Day to raise funds for races. So if that is a cause that you care a lot about, I would suggest that you look at the show notes to check out her social media and be able to support. Because what's the point of having a little privilege if you're not going to do some good with it, right? So if you have the time and you have some extra funds, definitely get involved with her live reading. The information is in the show notes to support Temperance Home and Bar. Let's get back into the episode. There are Latina and Latinx gatekeepers that like this is what you have to be this way, and I think that sometimes that can be like so much more oppressive than like white people.
Mhm. Yeah, and because what it does is creates a division within our own one of the divisions within our own community where like it's made my brother not want to. I mean, he loves his culture, but he's not as invested in it as me. Like I want to learn so many different things and learn the language, and because he's gotten bullied so many times, he's several shades darker than me also. Not only has he gotten bullied for his skin, but he's gotten bullied for not speaking Spanish, for like what you look like a Mexican, whatever that means, and you don't speak Spanish, like, but still he would get called like these offensive words. So that stuff has made him completely disassociate. He wants nothing a part of it because why should he when people in his own family and his own community are saying these certain things? So, and I have to respect that as someone who loves our culture but also knows just the ugly truth of it. I feel like people like me and you and like even like better like the company channel that I work for, we're trying to turn that around and make it something beautiful again and something more than what it used to be and be like, sorry, this happened. But, my brother just doesn't have that same view.
That could change with time. I understand where he's coming from too. It's really hard when like these people have put you in a box, especially when they are your own people, and you're like, why would I want to be part of this community?
Yeah.
My mom has this phrase that she says all the time, and it's like, un mexicano se come otro mexicano. And I
Mm,
really hate how sometimes that phrase can be true.
yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it comes from the fact that like we were colonized. And I think that there's that feeling of like not totally being content or happy with who we are. And so like we have to tear other people down. And I'm just like, don't do that. We're so much stronger together.
Yeah, what I think it is, and this is what I say all the time in my videos, it's projection. Because for me, when I first got to Better Like, which is the Latinx channel for BuzzFeed, I was making videos about not knowing how to speak Spanish and, kind of the insecurities and being proud of them and sharing that, like, yeah, your vulnerabilities can actually be your superpower. And they're the things that are supposed to make you who you are because you work through them. And when people see you being so fearless and vulnerable, and it feels like it's like a mirror where it's like, oh, I'm not like that. How dare you have confidence in something you should be ashamed of? So it's like it comes from those people who just kind of project like you shouldn't do that because maybe at one point in their life they also got bullied and now they're bullying you know oh, it's complicated.
It is complicated and it's a terrible cycle. I went to Mexico earlier this year, pre COVID, and I just turned 30. And so the last time I'd been there, I think I was like 18. It was so strange, I think, for me, but also like my family members to see like the big difference in me. Cause like back then I was a lot more shy and I was a lot more concerned about these expectations that my family had for me. And now, like this last time I went, I was like blasting LCD sound system and just, and people were just like, what? I mean, I love being in that space where I can appreciate Mexican things that are close to my heart, but I also can like the American things I am because I am at the end of the day Mexican American.
Mhm.
Selena made it okay.
She did. That's what I was like just saying today too. Like, somebody was like, "Who is someone that you gives you strength and confidence?" And I'm like, hate to say it because it sounds so cliche, but Selena Quintanilla. But just because I was looking up interviews of her speaking Spanish, and right before my Telemundo interview, and it gave me the strength because I was like, she's owning when she messes up. She doesn't, go off and cry or say stop the interview. She just rolls with it. And that's what these mistakes and failures need to feel like to us. And this was like my own journey of learning Spanish because through those mistakes and fails, they create experiences and that'll be forever ingrained in your brain. So seeing her just being so carefree and confident, I watched that and I was like, okay, let me go do this Telemundo interview. And I just, I did great. I like chilled out.
So no joke, I have a Selena photo on my altar
Oh,
because like it's a photo of her, but the flyer is for a Selena drag show that I went to, which by the way was the coolest thing ever.
uh-huh. Oh my God. I also, this is so weird because like I literally am staring at my Selena prayer candle. And then today I just found this Selena like vintage patch. And then I looked over, like when you said like Selena, I was like, oh my God. So I think she's here with us right now. What's up, girl?
What's up, girl? We love you. Do you have like a altar? Well, first of all, do you consider yourself a bruja?
I don't know if I can take the term bruja because I don't know. I feel like that's just such an intense name. I haven't done the work to earn it. I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair. I get that. Bruja just, in my opinion, sounds so much cooler than witch.
Yeah, it for sure. Witch is like, oh, you're a witch, but bruja is like, I'm a bruja, you know?
It was essentially like a slur, that the Spanish used as like a umbrella term for any type of holistic or kind of whatever. So there's like power, in my opinion, of like taking it back. But it is so funny how it does carry like a weight or a connotation. Because I'll talk to my mom because like spirits have always kind of made themselves present to me. I always sense them. And my mom's like, well, why don't you just call yourself like espiritista or espiritualista? And I'm like, because that's not what I am. And she's
That's
like,
kind of cute though. That's a good name.
my definition of a bruja or a witch is just like any individual who is living in their power and does and uses unconventional methods to obtain the reality that they want.
Hmm. That sounded like poetry.
It's funny because I didn't even realize that bocha was I guess like an insult for Mexican folk who have just like gotten disconnected from their roots.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, we don't have a huge Latinx community here to begin with in St. Louis. There is a Mexican community, but it's not very big. But my sister's actually, I think, the one who made me aware that it was a slur. And I was just like, oh, well, I don't like that.
Yeah. And I think it's up to, I mean, that's why I think I love that you're like retaking Bruja and changing it into something amazing. And I feel like that's kind of what we need to do, it's to not give these words such power and turn them into endearment so we can add it to our vocabulary of awesomeness. I don't know.
I mean, I think we should take it back. We're just a bunch of ponchitas just living our life. Maya, would you be down for me pulling a card for you?
Sure. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we're gonna do magic stuff. Okay, take a second, close your eyes, and really focus on your breath, breathing in as deeply as you can, breathing out as deeply as you can. And whenever you feel ready, tell me to stop and I'll pull a card.
Stop.
Okay. All right. So we pulled the Queen of Swords for you.
Cool.
Based on what I'm seeing, it seems like you're an individual who's very independent and has clear boundaries. Would you say that that is accurate for you?
Yeah, I feel like my boundaries have gotten clearer. Definitely.
Good, that's important. The thing with like swords cards though is that swords are typically lessons that you have to learn in a hard way. So it could also be that, do you feel like you're someone who has to learn lessons in a difficult way to really get the message, or do you kind of understand the first time?
Oh, definitely the first one. I have to like hit the ground and say, ouch. And then I'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe that wasn't good.
It's very representative of like you as a creative person who's independent and really just is trying to figure it out on your own. Keep in mind that since you are someone who does have to learn things a little bit more difficultly, you might have to emotionally rough times. Sometimes that makes you such a stronger person in the end. It really leads to a lot of growth.
Mhm.
Just try to, when you have moments when you're maybe really stuck in it and you can't see like the bigger picture, just be like, it's going to be okay. Like, this is just temporary.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Have you been feeling like maybe your emotions have been getting the best of you lately?
Yeah, 100%. My freaking I'm an Aries and Aries moon, rising Pisces, Aries Venus. So steamy emotions are me.
Also, we are currently in Mars retrograde in Aries, and Mars is the planet over conflict, passion, and war. So,
Mhm.
if you really start to feel irritable or like you're really just going to lose it, try to check in with yourself and be like, is this me or is this Mars?
Oh,
I've been having a really difficult Mars retrograde. So, if it's been really rough for you, it should be over in November.
yeah. Yeah. And I read somewhere that was like Aries are gonna have a difficult time. And I was like, "That doesn't it's not gonna apply to me." And then, like, a couple of, like, friend things happened, and I was, like, devastated and, like, crying and kind of having a little panic attack, and it was, like, 3 in the morning, and just felt all of these emotions at the same time. And I was like, "Okay, this is something different."
I feel you. My Mars retrograde started really intensely too. So now I'm just like, please don't talk to me. And you're going to be mean to me.
Yes. Unless you absolutely have to and cannot get a hold of me in any other way.
It's like, because I might cry. Like, and I'm not a big crier, but I'm just at this point where I'm like, if every interaction I have for the most part is going to end up in a fight, I'm like, I don't want it. You can keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh man. Things are gonna be great from now on. Okay. And if they're not, I'll beat them up.
You'll have Maya coming after you, so act right. All right, Maya. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. You're such an amazing human and just so much energy, and I love it. Where can we follow you, support you, and keep up with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel so great to just come on here and I have never talked about these things to anyone on podcasts before, so it felt really great. So you can follow me on every single social media platform at Maya in the Moment, Maya in the Moment. And if you want to watch some cool videos on BuzzFeed that are for the Latinx community, you can go to Pero Like on everything. So yeah.
They're really funny. My sister is obsessed with you, so I was watching like all of your videos just because I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself. So
Oh, yeah, and I know your sister's listening right now too. Hi, sister. You better listen to all of her things. That's in order.
you heard it here. All right, that was the episode. I'm just telling you, I felt like Selena was there. It was such an enjoyable time. All of the information to follow Maya is in the show notes. Again, thank you for listening and supporting the show. You can keep up with the show on Instagram and Twitter. I'm way more active on Instagram at Tutia Bruja. You can also follow me at Bexby Caston, again on Instagram and Twitter. And check out my website if you want to get involved, give something away, have a topic to suggest, or you want to pitch yourself, that is www.bexbycaston.com and the Tutia Bruja tab. All right, thank you again. I can't wait for tomorrow.